Trade is to build. All over the world, where there is progress and enterprise, there you will find us, building for the future. Rising over the Gold Coast. It climbs high and hangs suspended in the sky, scorching the red earth, making the swampy bush grow into an impenetrable maze, lending all the colors of the rainbow to the lazy tropical sea.
Yes, this is Africa, my homeland, as it has been from the beginning of time. Sleepy, but potentially virile. Wild, yet picturesque and beautiful, steaming in the broiling heat. In the clay villages, many of my countrymen live their lives unchanged by the passage of time. Our fishermen still set sail in the canoes as used by their forefathers before the first white man set foot on these shores. But times are changing in my country. Fine new buildings are rising, such as Swan Mill in Ankrah, the Gold Coast's first 5-story building built by Taylor Woodrow, and this imposing secretariat building, which is typical of modern Africa. Takoradi belongs to this new African age. 25 years ago, when I was a boy, it forced its way out of sheer jungle to become a young, thriving town, pulsating with life and commerce and populated by all West African races. Takoradi was the first major port of the Gold Coast, our only deep-sea harbor in these miles of shallow beaches and treacherous reefs. Here was the gateway through which all our much-needed imports and prosperity-bringing exports would pass. The world needed more timber, more cocoa, more and more manganese and aluminum ore, and my country had, and still has, them all. But in turn, we needed a wider gateway, for our harbor became too small for these growing demands. Extensions became imperative. That was how I came to work with Taylor Woodrow, for this was a company entrusted with the carrying out of this tremendous undertaking, which was to increase the capacity of the port almost threefold.
Yes, we were sent to do the job. And this was what we had to do. We had to construct a new timber depot, extend the main wharf by 1,400 feet, transfer the bauxite loading berth to the outer side of the lee breakwater, level Cox's Fort Hill, and win over 49 acres of valuable land from the sea on which to construct railway marshalling yards and cargo platforms. For this undertaking, every item which we were likely to need had to be on hand. Materials and spare parts of every description had to be shipped and stored. For, with the exception of sand, stone, and timber, everything had to be imported. But above all else, the modern contractor can't exist without plant, and a vast and imposing array of machines was shipped into Takoradi. Transport came high on the list of essentials. Light vans and cars for supervisory and maintenance work. Euclids and more Euclids, that Hercules of civil engineering, each capable of carrying over 15 tons of rock and muck, and lorries by the score, a never-ending fetching and carrying, which is part of any construction job. Even the tug, Taylor Woodrow, was brought from the United Kingdom. Now, the scene is set, and our job is beginning. On the south side of the timber depot, we are constructing the foundations for the mass concrete wall. The rock breaker Druid is seen here, leveling the seabed. The heavy steel chisel is hoisted up and dropped, breaking up the rock surface. Now the grabs go to work, removing the rubble and silt. Steel shutters are placed in position. To facilitate the work of the divers, we use a steel trestle. This rests on the bottom, with its top projecting above water level. An army-type gas mask is the only equipment of skin divers. They can stay underwater for a considerable time at depths not exceeding 20 feet. We establish the exact alignment for the wall, and the divers adjust the shutters by means of chain blocks and tackle attached to the trestle. Concreting barges shipped from England and assembled on the site now go into action. 2 barges are used, each carrying a 3-ton crane, as well as 2 concrete mixers fed by swing weigh batchers. Also on board is a diesel-driven generator for night work. The barge carries a full day's supply of aggregate, sand, cement, and fresh water for the concrete. Mixers work continuously, filling the punch-hard skips alternately. The number of skips required to fill one shutter varies according to the depth of the foundation, which, in turn, governs the width of the wall, and hence, the width of the shutters. As each skip is filled, a tally is marked on a board. The divers control the even distribution of the concrete underwater. Shutters are stripped after 12 hours, and the divers remove the boat and pry the shutters loose. Another barge fitted with a 7-ton crane removes them, and they are then cleaned and reassembled on the deck for the next job. We have just seen what we call extrusion method of construction. For this, we use a 3-sided shutter constructed by us in Takoradi. We work forward from the wall previously built, putting the shutter down, filling it with concrete, then removing it and using it over and over again. Thus, the wall progresses ahead with no intermediate spaces. Extrusion method is used at the south side of the timber depot, where the walls are somewhat wider in section, owing to the greater depth of foundation. Before that, we were using the pier and panel method. Separate piers or blocks were built at 30-foot intervals. Then long steel shutters fixed to the front and the back of them, and the space filled with concrete. 4,000 linear feet of quay wall will have to be built by both these methods when the new timber depot is completed. The underwater concrete gradually grows into one solid wall, just exposed at low tide. Then the top concrete is laid. This operation is very much the same. Steel shutters are fixed and filled from the concreting bars. This section of the wall is 8 feet high, 5 feet showing above high tide level. As the new timber depot begins to take shape, the next step is to fill the area enclosed by the wall. Sand used for this purpose we obtain from the beaches at the mouth of the Wind River, a mile or so from Takoradi. The Wind River sand is not suitable for concrete because of the high shell content, but forms a good filling material. It is excavated by dragline excavators and transported to the harbour area in tipping lorries. On the way, the lorries pass a bit of old Africa, where time and human labor are perhaps of less importance. Maybe their job has not the urgency of ours. We are using a fleet of lorries continuously on this work, for some 300,000 cubic yards of sand have to be deposited behind the walls to form the timber depot quays. Middle timber depot has been made ready in the meanwhile for the construction of foundation blocks on which we are to build 2 sawn timber sheds. Other members of our team are laying rail tracks on the north log quay. Workmen are unloading crushed stone for ballasting the track. This stone is a problem of its own. To ensure a steady supply, we're to take over and extend a large quarry situated about 8 miles from Takoradi. Blasting takes place twice a day. And after each blast, the larger pieces are broken up to sizes suitable for feeding to the crushers. These are loaded into narrow-gauge wagons, which are drawn by diesel locomotives to the crushing plant situated within the quarry area. The plant crushes the stone, which is then screened to the desired size. Then it is automatically loaded into railway wagons for transport to the harbour area. Pneumatic drills are at work again. Fresh charges of explosive are laid in preparation for another blast. As the work on the quarry face proceeds, the 30-foot overburden has to be removed to uncover fresh ground. This work is carried out by a local subcontractor, and it is done entirely by hand. Now for our biggest and most spectacular undertaking, the removal of Cox's Fort Hill. This local landmark, some 80 feet high and covering an area of about 24 acres, consists mainly of shale and laterite. The ground has first to be broken up to make it workable. Excavation has already started, and only the use of the most modern equipment and transport will enable us to finish the job in the limited time at our disposal. Two and a half cubic yard Bucyrus Erie diesel-driven shovels are the tools for this job. The excavated material is loaded into the 10 cubic yard rear dump Euclid trucks and transported to the foreshore to reclaim eventually an area of 49 acres and provide space for rail yards and other establishments. hill disappears and the reclaimed area takes shape. When completed, some 2 million cubic yards of soil will have been removed. To keep the heavy traffic flowing, access roads have to be kept in good condition, and in the various climatic changes, this calls for continuous attention. This picture of Cox's Fort Hill will give a clear impression of what is happening and what is still to be done. Another problem is the bauxite berth. This is closely linked with the removal of Cox's Fort Hill. Trainloads of precious aluminium ore are brought from the British Aluminium Company's mines in the interior. Railway wagons full of ore are placed on a mechanical tipper and emptied at a huge dump. The bauxite is scraped into a heap by drag scrapers and bulldozers. When a shipment of bauxite is to be made, the ore is loaded from the heap into buckets and transported over Cox's Fort Hill to the loading berth in the harbour. The removal of the hill means that instead of the present roundabout route, the ropeway will be realigned and taken directly across the reclamation area and then along the lee breakwater to the bauxite loading berth. This special mechanical loading apparatus is at present on the harbour side of the lee breakwater and has to be transferred to the outer side, thus allowing the new main wharf extensions to be built. Our work on the piers for the new berth is already well in hand. Here the sea is about 40 feet deep and 4 mass concrete piers have to be built to carry the heavy steel girders and transporters. The shutters are lowered, and the divers, now working in standard dresses, go down to set them in position. Owing to the restricted working space on the lee breakwater, the concrete is mixed on the present end of the main wharf and is transported to the site by narrow gauge railway. The main wharf is being extended by 1,400 feet and, when completed, will provide 3 extra berths for ships and also wharf space of 245 feet wide on which we are to build 2 double-story transit sheds. The wharf wall will be built of concrete blocks, the heaviest weighing 15 tons. We are making the blocks and storing them in the block yard at the end of the present main wharf. The lifting gear is lowered into the holes cast in the blocks where it is locked. A 15-ton crane picks up the block, swings it into position, and lowers it on the foundation already prepared underwater. This, again, is the work of our divers. Under their direction, the blocks are set in position. Great accuracy is required, and the work is carried out to a fraction of an inch. A total of nearly 6,000 blocks will be set to form the wall. The greatest width of the wall at foundation level is 24 feet, and the greatest height of blockwork above the concrete foundations will be 36 feet. The timber depot was one of the most urgent requirements, and our work on the sawn timber sheds is already nearing completion. Inside, the steelwork is almost finished. The floor is well advanced. The exterior of the sheds is now completed, and we can begin to appreciate the tremendous volume of timber that they'll be able to hold. The railway track along the new quay wall is directly linked with the timber storage sheds, which are acknowledged to be second to none in any other part of the world. North Log Quay railway tracks are the direct connecting link between the supply from the interior and the export by sea of numerous kinds of West African timber in the log. This is the district of Takoradi, where our staff is housed. In Taywood Cove, we run our own club and sports field. For however arduous the work, there must be time for relaxation. Cricket is a firm favorite. the swimming pool can always be relied upon to have its supporters. When the weather is not too hot, football is equally popular, and some of our African colleagues are first-class players. While relaxation is an important factor in the welfare of an efficient team, good medical attention, especially in a tropical climate, is our guarantee of continued good health. Antimalarial drugs are issued daily, and first aid in case of emergency is always at hand. Fully equipped and modern Takoradi Hospital is close by for the more serious cases. Maintenance of machinery is a vital part of our organization, as the wear and tear of equipment is considerable under tropical conditions. The workshops are always busy keeping the plant in tip-top order. Our African staff is keen and quick to learn. The nerve center of our work is the Taylor Woodrow offices in the harbor area. Here, technical drawings are prepared, and from here, the whole intricate system of transport, supply, and labor is run. Meanwhile, Cox's Fort Hill has almost disappeared, and the last excavations are taking place. 2 cargo platforms and a vast railway marshalling yard will soon replace the famous landmark. Barely 2 years ago, Cox's Fort Hill formed the background of this very scene. Whilst work on the original contract was proceeding according to plan, other works subsequently planned for further extending railway facilities were progressing well at Butua Lagoon. A new road has to be constructed involving the building of retaining walls, and at a later stage, a new bridge has to be built to carry the road over the railway. Here, new culverts are being constructed to carry the road and railway over the Butua Lagoon. This work is being carried out in such a way that railway traffic is not being interfered with. Where Cox's Fort Hill once stood, cargo platforms are now gradually taking shape, and work goes on at full speed. Very soon, the ballast is to be put down for the railway track. Sleepers follow and are ready to be placed in position. Tracks are now laid. This is a skilled job in which our African staff excels. Here is one more example where men have to work as a team if a job is to be well done. As the railway tracks are gradually completed, the platforms too become ready, and soon they are handed over to the railway authorities to start the life of activity for which they were built. They will work in conjunction with the other harbour installations to form a network capable of handling the tremendous and ever-increasing imports and exports flooding through Takoradi. The Gold Coast is proud of its vast new marshalling yard because of what it will mean in terms of trade, and remembering that a hill once towered here, and what efforts were needed to remove it, we too feel proud. Local sheds form an important part of the railway organization. At present, the sheds are not quite finished, but in a short time, they too will be in general use. All cement cargoes will be stored in this new building. The realigned aerial ropeway leads to the new bauxite berth, where the complicated loading apparatus has been transferred to its new position on the outer side of the lee breakwater. As the work of extending the main wharf by 1,400 feet is progressing, and as our new block wall moves inevitably forward, the shore derrick is replaced by the massive 15-ton electric block-laying crane, which travels on the wall on specially laid trestles. A concrete subway is being constructed on top of a block wall. Here again, steel shutters are used. When completed, cables and pipes will be laid in the subway. Top concrete for the subway is carefully leveled in preparation for the laying of the coping stones. The area between our new block wall and the lee breakwater is now being filled in. Once again, the Euclids are called into action, dumping thousands of tons of soil to form the new quay. Bulldozers follow, leveling the area for our next operation. pile drivers now come into action. Reinforced concrete piles are driven deep until they reach solid ground to make a firm foundation for the transit sheds. A helmet is fitted to protect the pile head whilst driving the pile to its full depth. Driving machine moves to its next position. Pile heads are broken out and reinforcements fixed for constructing the pile caps and beams to carry the walls of the new sheds. Here we see the first transit shed in the final stage of construction. When completed, these sheds will enable the authorities to deal rapidly and efficiently with passenger traffic and the steady flow of merchandise through the port. Tarmac on road surfaces, this improvised spreader, made in our own workshop, is proving very successful. Slowly but steadily, our task under the original contract draws to a close. The new block wall is finished, and the protecting timber fenders are in position. We look out to sea, over the ghost of Cox's Fort Hill, to the marshalling yard, to the main wharf extension and the new timber depot. A quiet feeling of pride creeps over us all, African and European alike. Here are some of our European staff who, working in happy cooperation with the consulting engineers and the Harbour Authority, form the perfect team. As the great day draws near for the opening ceremony, our director in charge, Mr. A.J. Hill, accompanied by his wife, flies out to join our team, African and European, who owe much for the successful completion of the job to enthusiastic and never-failing support from their colleagues, specialists and suppliers in the United Kingdom. Soon the plane is circling over Takoradi, and as Mr. Hill looks down on the finishing touches being put to the great enterprise, his thoughts must go back over the years, remembering the setbacks, the successes, the planning, the achievements, the heartbreaks and the triumphs, all part and parcel of our industry. At last, the great day is here. His Excellency, the Governor of the Gold Coast, Sir Charles Noble Arden Clark, has arrived, and with the Prime Minister of the Gold Coast, the Honourable Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and other officials, is touring the new extension. As the tug bearing the Governor's party comes alongside, cheers ring out from the hundreds of spectators on ship and shore. The Governor steps onto the new main wharf extension, and he is welcomed by Gold Coast cabinet ministers and other distinguished guests. He walks along towards the transit shed where he is to perform the opening ceremony, accompanied by Mr. W.H. Salkeld, General Manager of the Gold Coast Railways and Harbour Authority. Dr. Nkrumah and Mr. Brymer follow. Then come Mr. A.J. Clark of Messrs. Rendell, Palmer and Tritton, Mr. and Mrs. Hill, our resident General Manager, Mr. Guthrie and Mrs. Guthrie, and Mr. Fairclough. During the ceremony, several members of our African staff are presented to the Governor by our agent, Mr. Fairclough. On the platform, Mr. Salkeld, to whom much credit is due for the major part he has played in this great enterprise, invites His Excellency to perform the opening ceremony. Sir Charles pays tribute to those who had the foresight to build this harbour 25 years ago and stresses the confidence which the government has in the economic future of the country and congratulates the team. Mr. Brymer, who is Minister of Communications and Works, predicts that in the very near future, Takoradi will be the finest port in West Africa. Here we see Mr. Clark proposing a vote of thanks to the Governor. This is seconded by Mr. Hill, and he refers to our fortunate position as contractors in being able to see how our work plays such a large part in the life of the communities concerned. He concludes by wishing everyone in the Gold Coast the greatest prosperity from the fruits of the project now coming into use. And so ends the great day. The festivities are finished and our story told. Big ships come and go, forever maintaining a constant stream of merchandise to and from the port. Soon we too must go, bidding goodbye to Takoradi and the friends we made here. We move on to new jobs in other places, where we shall continue building for the future.